Hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're talking about what if Deku was reincarnated into Genshin Impact. So, in the last video we talked about how after his, a few more years of basically, going around the place, mostly, let's just say, stealing some shit from pretty minor nobles including the Lord's Clan bitch. Anyway. uh, After stealing from the Lawrence clan, let's just say they were not happy about it. And during those few years of basically, stealing shit, he would actually, unlock a little thing known as a vision. In this case, he was able to use Hydro. But, judging by the photo, or at least the drawing that I made, that he's probably gonna have a few more elements. Yep. All of you guys voted for this, so I'm gonna make him the most overpowered bitch imaginable. So, after, doing that, the Lawrence clan was not really too happy about getting all of their stuff stolen, so they decided to hire a little assassin to basically, kill the entire area of treasure hoarders. And let's just say, oh boy, let's just say Ezekiel was not happy about it. After arriving back from his little rest time in a little, lake that he usually stays to, hang out by himself and basically, reflect on his actions. And when he saw the blood and also the dead bodies, including the dead bodies of his grandfather and, father or surrogate father or uncle in this case, well, let's just say he was pretty pissed off, to the point that he was able to use another element, in this case, cryo. And this person who assassinated his, parents, or at least his surrogate parents, was a certain girl by the name of Rosaria. So, when she saw that Izuku was able to use two different elements, she was shocked, and thought it was some sort of some sort of delusion or delusion ability. But when she saw the vision that he had, it was definitely not an illusion or delusion or, vision or whatever. It was something different. It sort of had a weird symbol, and, most of the other symbols were, turned black, or just black most of the time. But only two were glowing. One was the one that seems to be more of a lightish blue color, and the other one a more, regular-ish blue color, which seemed to represent the cryo and hydro vision. So, after basically charging his way towards her and basically slamming his weapon into her, well, she sort of thought that she should probably defeat him once, pretty quickly, immediately, before she might die. So she would basically chop Izuku in the neck and causing him to basically go unconscious. Another person would arrive, and this person would be Kaya. This person seems to have, or at least Kaya seems to have darkish skin and wearing some sort of pirate-like outfit, including with an eye patch. And they would decide to basically bring him into Mondstadt to, let's just say, turn him into the good side, I guess you can say that. And so when he woke up in Mondstadt, he was pretty confused. When he looked around, he was basically thrashing and screaming, saying that he wants to find that girl so he can take his revenge for the deaths of his, grandfather and, kind of uncle slash father. So, after saying all of these things, a person would jump out of there. In this case, a person that basically opened the curtains. This person seems to have blonde hair and golden eyes, and wearing a simple white dress. In this case, this person was named Lumine, and right beside her was a floating baby. Yeah, that was definitely weird. I mean, in terms of, being in this world. I mean, it's probably not as weird when you're considering into the, My Hero Academia verse when there's, fucking quirks, but still, it's pretty fucking weird. So, when she introduced herself, apparently her name was Paimon. And after introducing themselves, Izuku would also see a familiar face. In this case, a girl that he knows very well. In this case, Amber. And after introducing herself as one of the Knights of Favonius, Izuku was in shock because, he never thought that, Amber would be a Knight of Favonius, but he was pretty, happy for her. after bringing them to the little office of, of the Knight of Favonius, or the Knights of Favonius, well, a certain girl by the name of Jean wants to talk to him. And Jean wants to talk to him if if he can, join the Knights of Favonius himself. But he doesn't want to join, mostly because he wants to get his revenge on the Lawrence clan for basically killing his parents, including the girl that basically did that to his parents, or at least, his surrogate parents. You basically get it. And after a bit of conversation, apparently, Izuku can get his revenge, but he has to work with them. And so, he would basically, work with them from now on. But apparently, he doesn't have a home anymore, so apparently, he's gonna be staying with Amber. Yeah, let's just say this is gonna be an awkward night, to say the least. So, yeah. So, after arriving at her home and getting some, shorts from her, well, let's just say father, which, let's just say, he sort of, went out to get some milk, if you get what I mean. And so, he would basically fall into bed and basically falls asleep. Before, Amber would basically see him fall asleep, well, she would basically, give him a really deep kiss on the cheek, and so she would fall asleep in Izuku's arms. And so, that is basically what happened now. This is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, Izuku would basically wake up in the morning and let's just say he feels something weird on his, chest. It feels something, he feels something squishy on his chest. And pretty quite squishy, if you get what I mean. When Izuku felt that, he would basically open his eyes and see, well, brownish hair covering his face. After getting the hair, away from his face, he would notice that this person was Amber. And she's basically cuddling him like if she were to, cuddle, Baron Bunny. I think that's the name of her, stuffed animal that explodes. I think that's the name. If I'm wrong, just tell me in the comments. So, when Izuku saw that, he would start to blush a little bit. Mostly because he's never been held like this before. By any girl. Including in his last life. I mean, sort of. I mean, there's Toga, which she's not really interested in him. It's more like her, she's more interested in his blood, but more or less it's basically similar to that. Izuku would try to get out of there, but unfortunately she has a pretty strong grip. Yeah, he's gonna be staying there for a while. So, after a few hours of basically, sleeping for Amber, she would wake up and see Izuku basically, let's just say getting suffocated by her, let's just say, chest melons. Let's just say that. And when she saw that, she would say, sorry. As Izuku would say this, no, actually, you don't really need to apologize. Izuku would think in his mind that, well, they were soft and kind of squishy and absolutely felt warm. Like, to the point that they feel like, pillows. Or gigantic-ass marshmallows that are heated. And after saying that into his mind, he would say, don't think that. I mean, we're basically just like childhood friends. Yeah, childhood friends, he would start to think in his mind more. But he still can't get over the fact that she, touched him that way. So, yeah. So, after getting out of bed, he would say this. I'm gonna be preparing breakfast. You can just stay in the bed for now. As she would say this, are you sure? I mean, as Izuku would say this, no, I'm fine. I'm not really injured or anything. Look, as he would start taking off the bandages around his arm, or at least his hand, or at least both of his hands and chest, and they're all healed. In fact, they're super healed, like to the point that they're basically no more scars. Except for the scar on his face, mostly his eye and his, cheek. As she would say this, wow, how? I mean, it's been just a day and, as Izuku would say this, let's just say I have this power. As he would start to manipulate, his hydro powers, as he was able to heal, a bit of his face. But he prefers to just let the scar, and also a scar in his eye, to basically stay. As she would say this, so you're able to heal people with your hydro powers? As Izuku would say this, yeah, but I can also use it for damaging reasons. As Izuku would start to get a sadistic smile on his face, as she would start to become a little bit afraid, as she would say this, anyway, how about breakfast then? As Izuku would say this, yeah, what about breakfast? So, they would basically go into the kitchen as they would start to make breakfast, which mostly consists of bread and also some eggs, some, frozen meats, not really frozen meats, more like, cold meats, like cold cuts. And also, there's a large, slab of, wait for a second, a large chunk of cheese, like one of those, like, cartoon-style cheeses that are basically like, I meant to wait for a second, like, something like ridiculously large, like one of those types of cheeses. So, after looking at the large cheese slice, well, Izuku would say this, well, that's huge. As one of them would say this, specifically, Amber. Yeah, I do agree, but still, as she would basically make a little sandwich and start chowing down. Izuku would also chow down, as after he finishes eating, he would tell Amber that he's going to take a shower by himself, or take a bath. So, after going into a little bathroom with a large bathtub, he would basically start to, relax a little bit, as he would say this. Much better. As he would start to think, why was Amber a bit, a little bit too touchy? Like, she was a bit too touchy, to say the least. But he would stop thinking about it and start, thinking about something else. Mostly about getting his revenge on the people who basically, killed his family. So, after a while of thinking that, he would basically hear the door open. As he would look back as the door was basically closed again, he would think, probably nothing. As he would basically, still be, close his eyes and basically still relaxing. But he would feel vibrations in the water, and after opening his eyes, he would see a fully naked, not Ruby, I meant Amber. Oh god, it's like that whole situation all over again. Alright, start together. Actually, no. That's actually even more stupider. Actually, no. What? No. So, after looking at the, almost naked, Amber, which, let's just say she's still pretty much covered thanks to the water, and, thankfully, it's not gonna be, one of those 18 plus scenes yet. And I mean yet. Wait for a second. Oh, sorry about that. It was just my class group chat. Sorry about that. So, after looking at the girl, she would say, "Oh, hi, Izuku." As he would start to blush even more, seeing that his face was completely red. The similar color to... God dang it, wait for a second. Sorry about that. Another message about my group chat and also, studies. God dang it, studies. My worst fucking enemy. Anyway, so, after seeing her face, all naked and stuff, he would start to become a little bit reddish in the face, to the point that he's basically the same hair color as Ria's Gregory from High School DxD. I'm definitely gonna make a what if about that. Maybe. So, after seeing all of her, let's just say assets, Izuku would start to look away, basically facing, to the wall. As she would say this, Izuku, why are you... As he would say this, please don't touch me, and, I mean, you're naked, and we're not even kids anymore, so... As she would say this, as she would start to have a devious smile. As she would say this, oh, I didn't know that you think of me that way. As she would basically grab Izuku by his arm and basically pushing his arm into her bountiful, let's just say, jungus. Oh, god dang it. So, after seeing that, he would start to become even more blush. Like, his face is fully, red. As Izuku was almost about to pass out from blood loss because, his nose is starting to bleed. She would say this, Izuku, are you okay? As he would say this, Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. I mean, I'm not, as he would start to stutter even more as she would say this. Yeah, you're definitely not fine. As Izuku would say this, can you please stop holding me like that? And we're not even kids anymore. And as she would say this, how about this? She would basically put Izuku, like, he would basically, be pushed, like, Izuku would be, on his back, as she would basically push into Izuku's back, as Izuku could feel her, bazongozongas on his, back, as he would feel her basically touching all over him, as she would say this, well, you certainly have grown a lot, Izuku. As Amber would say this, she would start to touch all over his chest and all the way to his abs, which were finally toned thanks to him basically, running away and also training. She would say this, how about I see if you're pretty well endowed yourself? She would start she starts putting her, arms all the way down to his, almost all the way down to his pants as Izuku would get out of the water as he would say this, alright, I'm done, I'm gonna go change my clothes, okay, bye, as he would basically close the door, forgetting that he doesn't have a towel on. As she would say this, well, he certainly has a nice butt though. She would basically say to herself, currently with Izuku, he's basically changing his clothes, and after changing his clothes, he would basically wait outside. As Izuku's waiting outside, he would hear Amber saying, alright, I'm coming in. Or at least, I'm going out, as she would basically, open the door as Izuku would see her normal attire. Almost resembling like a bunny girl. At least, not the skimpy one, at least. As Izuku would say this, well, you look nice. As she would say this, thank you. As she would say, and you also have a pretty nice butt yourself. As Izuku would start to say, please do not say that. As currently some people were basically, we're basically, going around, they're currently in the neighborhood right now, and some people heard that, and they would start to look at Izuku and Amber, as Izuku would say this, it's nothing, I swear, as everybody would start to, giggle to themselves, and some, children would start to ask their mother and fathers about this, but they would start to, move away, as Izuku would start to slump down, as Amber would say, Izuku, what's wrong? As he would say this, oh, nothing. As they would start to go towards the, office of the Knights of Favonius, or at least their main office. After arriving there, they were told that they're gonna be, going around the city and taking care of some problems, more specifically, some villager problems. And their teammate for this specific mission is a new girl. Apparently her name is Noelle. And apparently she's a maid knight. After Izuku heard this, he would start to think, what the fuck are these jobs? He would start to think in his mind. But either way, he would basically, follow Amber to go to her place of residence. After arriving at her place of residence, well, Amber would basically knock on the door as Amber would basically look at the door for about a few minutes as Izuku would say this. When is she coming out? As she would say this, oh, don't worry. As the door would basically, start to make noises as a person would come out. This girl seems to have silverish hair and greenish eyes, similar to Izuku, but they're more like a light green instead of his, a little bit more darker green. And she seems to also have, wait for a second, and she seems to be wearing some sort of mix of a knight's outfit and a maid outfit. Which Izuku would start to think, is that even practical in the first place? He would start to think in his mind, as Noelle would say this. Oh, hello there, Miss Amber. So, are you ready for the mission? As she would say this. Yep. Hey, Izuku, come. As when she said that, Izuku would basically come out of the little pillar that he's basically, leaning on. When, Noelle sees him, she would start to, she would start to blush a little bit, which Izuku would notice. After seeing Izuku's, greenish hair, which seems almost exotic to her, and one of his eyes, which she sort of is afraid of it, but she's kind of intrigued with it as well. as she would say this. Oh, hello, are you perhaps my other companion for this, mission? As Izuku would say this. Yep, the name's Izuku. Izuku Midoriya at your service. He would basically bow as she would say this. You don't need to be this formal. She would start to blush even more after seeing this. She would say this. Anyway, she would start to, rub her fingers together as she would say this. We want to start off our, little mission about, now. As when she said that, they would start to go towards a little area. More specifically, wait for a second. After, Izuku heard that, she would say, anyway, we should probably go now, right? As Izuku would say this. Yeah, we should go. As Amber would say, wait, do you have any weapons at least? I mean, we don't want you to get, harmed during our little mission. As he would say this. Well, I do have one, but as he would basically grab some, little, like, kunai type, throwing knives, as he would say this. But, unfortunately, I only have these. I mostly just use throwing knives most of the time. As when he said that, she would say, more specifically, Noelle, she would say, so you mostly use knives. I see. But we can certainly get you a new weapon in the, smithing shop over there. She would basically point at the little, blacksmith shop. As Izuku would say this. Sure, why not? So, when they started going towards the little, blacksmith shop, the owner would say this. Hello, Noelle and Amber. Wait, who's the new guy over there? As one of them would say this. Oh, this is our new companion. His name is Izuku Midoriya. As he would say this. So, what are you looking here for? Weapons? Or, as Izuku would say this, I'm just looking for a sword or anything. Or maybe a claymore, he would say it more specifically, as he would say this. Oh, so you're that type of guy. I can certainly make something out of that. So, what type of sword do you want? Or claymore in this case. As Izuku would basically think of a, sword for him. Or at least a sword for himself. As he would basically think of this. This one to be more specific. This one. Yeah. Yeah, this is supposed to be a claymore. You thought it was some sort of little knife similar to, Asuma's knife from, or at least, I guess you could say kunai, sort of. It's more like, a mix of a knife and a, brass knuckle. But Asuma from Naruto, it's basically similar to his weapon. But it's actually a broadsword, or, a claymore in this case. After saying the, things that he said, as he would basically, give some aura as he would start to create the weapon. The weapon would appear as it was ginormous. The handle was a bit, too large for his hands, but he can manage it. After Izuku puts it on his back, Noelle would say, so, you're going for a claymore. I didn't know. As Izuku would say this. Oh, come on. It seems pretty powerful to me. And besides, as he would start to charge his energy, as the, hydro, and also, cryo energy would start to flow in, creating two little symbols down here. As she would say, what? What the? As Izuku would say this. Like it? I'm able to channel my, elemental energy and turn it into this. Now, watch! As he would basically create a large slice of ice, as he would basically create a large serpent from water. Or in this case, hydro, coming out of the sword, as the dragon would roar, as it would shoot towards a little bush, as it would explode. After doing that, the blacksmith, Amber, and also Noelle would be impressed. As Izuku would say this. How do you like that? As Amber would say this. It's amazing, she would say. As Izuku would say this. Anyway, we should probably start going. As she would say this. Oh, yeah, right. So, after saying this, they would start to move, going towards the, wait for a second. Going towards the exit of the, city of Mondstadt. After arriving at the large bridge, Izuku would see a little boy playing with some pigeons or feeding them. But a certain, Amber would start to think, finally. She would basically grab her bow as she would basically shoot at the birds, killing them. Izuku would just look at Amber as he would say, "What the heck did you do?" As she would say this, "Come on, it's fun." And they would see the little boy start to cry. Yeah, they would start to move out of the way and start moving towards the outskirts of town. So, after arriving at a large clearing, one of them would say this, specifically Noelle. "So, we're gonna be hunting down some hillashers, okay?" As Izuku would say this. "Yeah, I know. So, how many we're going to kill?" As one of them would say this. "Well, about, as she would basically look at the reports, as she would say this. About 15. Apparently these 15 hillashers were basically troubling some merchants." As Izuku would say this. "I see." So, after hearing this, he would say this. "Now, let's take care of those little fuckers." After saying this, he would start to go towards the, clearing, seeing a lot of hillachurls. Mostly about, 5. As Izuku would, see them, he would say this. "Well then, let's have some fun." After saying this, 2 large serpents of water would basically, charge towards the hillachurls as they would basically be destroyed. Mostly 2 of them. As the other 2, or the other 3, would start to run away as Amber would basically use her arrows to basically shoot at the, nearby hillachurls that were basically trying to escape and kill them. After killing both of them, Noelle would basically arrive there and basically uses her, claymore to basically smack it around and finally kill it. As Izuku would say this. 5 down, 4 to go. Not 4 to go, I meant, 10 to go. So, after a while of basically, going around the entire, forest and killing some hillachurls, they would finally kill all 15. After doing that, Izuku would say this. That was fun. As one of them would say this. "Yeah, it certainly was fun, Mr. Izuku." As Izuku would say this. Just call me, Izuku, not Mr. or anything like that." As she would say this. "Oh, thank you, I guess, Izuku." As Izuku would notice her start to blush. Currently, Amber was, a bit jealous after hearing that, wait for a second. Hearing Noelle basically, talking to, Izuku and, seeming to have a crush for him. She seems to have a bit of a jealous mind and she would say, "Nobody's ever going to touch my Izuku-kun. Nobody," she would say to herself as she would say this. "Anyway, we should probably start to leave." As Izuku would say this. "Well, yeah, we should probably do." And so, they would start to leave, going towards Mondstadt once again. So, after arriving at Mondstadt, they would basically discuss mostly about the hillachurls that, Izuku, Noelle, and also Amber killed. After getting the report, wait for a second, god dang it, again. After defeating all of those hillachurls and reporting them to Jean and the other Knights of Favonius, they would start to leave, going towards their little, quaint places. In this case, Izuku is going with Amber to go to her house. But when they arrived, they would see Paimon and also Lumine there. As Lumine would say this. "Oh, hi guys." As one of them would say this. What are you doing here?" said Izuku. As she would say this. "Well, we sort of, haha." She would start to laugh as she would basically tell them about what happened. Apparently, she sort of caused a bit of trouble in her, little, tavern, or I guess you can say apartment, and was kicked out. Yeah. After Izuku, basically heard this, Izuku would start to think, seriously, this girl's definitely gonna be some trouble, and I'm just hoping she doesn't, tell us to basically let her stay. She would basically say this, she would basically say, "Oh, and I was wondering if I can crash in your place for now. I mean, this place is quite comfy." Izuku would basically facepalm saying, why did I even jinx myself in the first place? God fucking damn it, he would say to himself. As, a certain, Amber there would start to think, God dang it, she would say to herself. She would say, I just wanted to stay alone with my Izuku-kun. She would say, as Lumin would see this, she would say, so, is it okay if me and Paimon stay here? As Amber would say this, fine, but you're gonna be sleeping over there. She would basically point at a couch, which Izuku would start to think, why didn't I sleep there? As he would basically start to think to himself and saying to himself, why did I even see it in the first place? He would start to think even more, as Amber would say this. Anyway, me and Izuku over here are gonna be going to sleep. So, see ya. She would basically, bring Izuku by the arm and bring him towards her bedroom. As Paimon would say, Paimon is going to be sleeping in the couch. You're sleeping with them. As, she would say, wait, what? As she would say, yeah, Paimon doesn't want to disturb, you in your sleep, so why not sleep with them? As, well, Amber would say, yeah, but, as she would say this, don't worry, they probably won't mind. So, after that, we go back to, Izuku and Amber, as Amber's basically holding Izuku while they were fully asleep. But a person would basically go into the bedroom and basically see Izuku and Amber basically, hugging each other for warmth. As this person was Lumin. As Lumin would say this, well, this is certainly, as she would basically, go towards, wait for a second, god dang it, going towards, their bed, as she would basically plop herself down there. She would basically, sleep near, Izuku, as she would basically, hug him as well, as she would say, whoa, he actually is warm, and it feels so nice. She would basically start to, cuddle with him, as she would basically, change her clothes a little bit, and she was just wearing her underwear and, bra. Yeah, this is definitely gonna be an interesting morning for him. So, yeah. So, after doing that, she would basically fall asleep. And so, all of them would basically fall asleep, and as for Paimon, yeah, she was snoring. Just imagine Paimon snoring, just like... oh, god damn it, just imagine her just like that. So, yeah, this is going to be the end of this episode. And so, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.